Okay, so we have been using Create React App to skeleton out our React projects. And there's a really useful article that I've just sent you over Slack on the Create React App documentation, and that is just titled Deployment. It will tell you how to deploy your Create React App project on numerous deployment solutions. So what are some deployment solutions you might have heard of? Some hosts, some web hosts. Heroku is one, absolutely.
GoDaddy. Is that the type of thing we're talking about?
GoDaddy would be to register domain names.
Right, okay.
And some, I think they might offer hosting as well now. But
Yeah, they do.
HostGator, those sorts of things, yeah. How about the technologies that these servers often run on? So what are the big three or big four names in technology, or some big names in technology? We've got AWS, we've got Amazon, yeah, Amazon Web Services. So that's Google is another huge one. Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, yeah. Oracle's a big one, yeah. So Heroku is built on top of AWS. Yeah, it's built on top of AWS Web Services. And Alibaba, yes, they do hosting now as well, I believe. Big in the East. Yeah, so anyway, you scroll down this documentation and they will give you the steps to deploy to various different places. AWS Amplify is the first one they list, so we said that. Amazon, Azure, Microsoft, Firebase, Google. And if we keep going down, there's GitHub Pages, which is how we used to do our sites, deploy our sites just to GitHub Pages. Obviously you know what GitHub is. So this is their free hosting option. A lot of the above services as well will have a free hosting option. Of course they have paid options as well for business deployments and more professional deployments that need larger space or constant uptime, near constant uptime. If we keep going down, the GitHub Pages one, as you can see, is quite long. So therefore we're trying out with you guys using something called Now. There's Heroku, so it tells you how to deploy on Heroku. Netlify is another one we didn't mention. And we come down to Zeit Now. Why did I pick this one? I think the team have made an incredible effort just to make deployment as simple as possible. Deployment used to be not an easy task necessarily. You needed to have a bit of knowledge of how servers worked, to be able to transfer your files onto a server, and then to make that server serve the necessary files to your users of your website. That has become greatly simplified in recent years, partly because things like React do client-side rendering. So again, I've sent you another useful article to read. Client-side versus server-side rendering. So historically, we pretty much just had server-side rendering. All of our files were hosted on the server, and they were rendered there from all the different little bits and pieces. You know, we might have our images in one file, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That all got merged into one HTML file on the server, and then when the user made a request to the server, it would send back the relevant HTML page. That's server-side rendering. Your HTML pages are pieced together on a server or on your host. You know, if you're hosting with, what did we say, GoDaddy or HostGator, then those files would be server-side rendered and then served statically to your clients, to your users. So now, because browsers and computers have become a lot more powerful, we have the option of doing client-side rendering. So client-side rendering is where something like the JavaScript files create the HTML pages. And that's what React does. Yeah, React is a single-page application. Essentially, it renders all of the pages through one index.html page. Yeah, so when you're writing all those components, React's putting all the pieces together on the client's actual machine, on the user's actual machine of your website. You just send a huge JavaScript file or a couple of JavaScript files from your server, and all the pages get rendered on the client's machine. So this is the big difference, right? Client side versus server side. where are the files rendered. And when we use something like React, then we are typically using client-side rendering. We can do server-side rendering, but we'd need additional tools. Then you might have heard of something called Next.js. So Next.js is a way to use React on the server and render your files on the server. Anyway, that's well worth a read, that article, and hopefully that will explain the differences to you. And nowadays we tend to use client-side rendering a lot more, but it's not always the best use case. So hopefully this article will explain a little bit, and it gives you just some nice pros and cons down the bottom. And SEO is one of the big cons. So SEO, what does SEO stand for? Nice, search engine optimization, or pronounce it differently if you want. And that means that with client-side rendering, it's a lot harder for the search engine crawlers to crawl your site and to work out its structure, because essentially you're rendering everything through one page, so it just thinks your website's one page and it doesn't know what it contains. So you have to jump through hoops a little bit to make sure that the search engine does crawl your page properly if you're using client-side rendering. You need to give it a bit of help. And there are various tools again to do that. Just be aware that that could be a downside if you were developing your own website using React and you hadn't set up search engine optimization. Your site might not appear very high up in the rankings and things like that. Cool. Anyway, as I say, well worth a read. What I want to concentrate on today is let's actually try and deploy something. So hopefully by now you have all installed the Now CLI tool. So this is just a command line interface tool that lets us deploy directly from inside of VS Code or any terminal that we've got up and running. So let's try, that's my CodeFlix, or actually it's someone else's CodeFlix. And this was just the demonstration we had the other day. So this is just the one with the 3 movies, and I just quickly added some overlays in there. Let me just clear that so that it doesn't look too messy. So if I do the usual npm start just to run it locally, just to check that I'm not deploying anything that's broken. In fact, if you're on a Mac or Linux machine, if you ever want to close all of your instances of Node, there's a command called pkill, process kill, terminate all the processes that are running with Node. Yeah, pkill Node, really useful. If I do that, I should now be able to run npm start on any port of my choosing. Nice. So we got some sort of CodeFlix looking app, right? That's coming in there. Okay, good. Now I want to deploy that app. I want to deploy it to a page on the web for anyone to view. Now, yeah, exactly. Now I have simplified this process massively, and their tools should be clever enough to work out exactly what I want to do if I go into my root of my project folder. So in other words, I've got this displayed, node modules, public, source. I've got the package.json right next to me, and all I have to type is the word now, nothing else. So I want you to try that now and see whether it works. It seems too good to be true. So I type now, it says deploying this project. The first time you do it, does it ask you to enter any details, like a username, or... In fact, maybe you've all got to register. Have you got to register first? That might be the first step, right? What happens when you type now?
Please log in.
Right, yeah, so you need to create an account and log in. Once you've created an account and logged in, it should just work. Yeah, when you're running a local server, you type now, it'll deploy the files. Yeah. Yeah, you might as well sign up using GitHub. That will give you additional tools later on. So for those of you online, if you're not sure, you're going to need to go to the...
I couldn't install.
You couldn't even install it? Yeah, I'll have to do that one-on-one with you then, Demiano, I think. Yeah. So if you go to Zeit.co, that's all right, we'll sort it out. So if you go to Zeit.co, you'll need to log in. So if I log out, hopefully you'll see what sort of page you will get. Yeah, so you've got this sort of welcome page. You can continue with GitHub or GitLab if you've got it. If not, continue with email. So I'm just going to continue with GitHub. That will continue as me. And then once you've created that account, then I guess we can go to the docs, and there's probably a getting started, right? So we've installed the CLI, we've created a project. Yep.
So you have to go on that Zit website and create an account.
That's way quicker than Heroku.
Hugely
I can't believe
quicker.
how quickly it's already done.
Is yours deployed?
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
And it has no downtime like Heroku does. Heroku takes 30 seconds to spin up. These are just spin up like that. So, yeah, I'm really impressed.
What's their monetization structure? Do they just...
They do offer paid plans. Yeah, absolutely. I'd have to fiddle around the website. Let's get everyone to this stage, and then we can have a look. But yeah, it seems too good to be true to me. It's like free deployment. You don't really have to configure anything for basic sites that don't have backends and databases and stuff. And it's instant, always up. So perfect for portfolios. Absolutely perfect for portfolios. So once you've created your account, in your terminal you'll need to type now login.
And then the top, it might be the website, it's got a little black triangle.
Okay, I'm going to pause the